Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about the 10 anime that I hope to cover during the summer 2025 anime season. Before we get started with the list proper, I'd like to make a couple quick disclaimers. The first is that if I put something on this list, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that I'm going to end up covering and finishing it, because there are a lot of shows here that have not premiered yet, and therefore I don't know whether or not they will actually click with me. There are also a couple other shows that I have kind of in a we'll see kind of basis that I might swap out. If I watch a first episode and like them better, I will update you as I go. Second is the fact that not every show that I have listed here will necessarily air on my channel on the date that it airs in the actual summer schedule, because a lot of the shows I'm interested in are happening late in the week and there's basically nothing going on for Monday or Tuesday, so I'm going to be scooting some of these around just so that they work better for me. I hope you guys don't mind, and as I said, once I finalize my schedule fully, I'll make sure you know exactly what days everything's going up. This is just to give you kind of a primer on what I am interested in for the season. First up, let's talk about two honorable mentions that may or may not get covered on the channel. If you guys are interested in either of these, please speak up in the comments and let me know, because I will potentially work to shift my schedule around depending on if they work for me, because that obviously has to happen, and whether other things don't, and that kind of thing in general. First of these is The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, which is a contemporary romance. It just looks like a really cute kind of story. I like the idea of like a rivalry kind of deal between the two schools. I love the fact that the guy is a pastry chef. I love the fact that people are apparently afraid of his appearance, and this girl seems not to be. I don't know whether I can pronounce her name to save my life. I think it's like Karoko or something, which is one of the reasons why I'm a bit nervous about the idea of covering it, but the overall premise is solid. I don't know whether it really fits with the overall general theme of my channel, but I am known to do an occasional contemporary, so it was one of these shows that was on my mind. The second honorable mention that I thought about covering is Apocalypse Bringer Minogra, because I really love strategy games. One of my hobbies is turn-based strategy, stuff like Fire Emblem or Dark Deity, and the idea of somebody getting reincarnated into a turn-based strategy type world is really interesting, and the idea that he is actually coming into this as the potential villain could be a really fun twist. I mean, I know it's something that's been done before. I also know it's something that I've enjoyed before because I've watched part of Overlord, but it was one that sort of had my interest, but I found out about it a bit later and it just didn't make it onto the list proper. However, I have it waiting in the wings. It's a Sunday release. The other show I talked about is, these are both Sunday releases, but I could always consider putting them on Monday or Tuesday if I end up deciding to do that, or if something else doesn't work. On Monday, we have Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, which is technically a Friday release, but it would be something I think I'd be putting on a Monday. I'm interested in this because it's a fantasy romance series, and it doesn't appear to be one of the villainous ones. I don't know what it is about those. They've just never worked for me. It's not like I outright hate them or something, but they just generally don't work. I like the idea of this one, the kind of Cinderella-esque vibes, although it's her actual parents and not a stepmother here, which is an interesting twist. I wonder whether it's a matter of political necessity, the way that these people have treated her, or whether it's some kind of intentional cruelty toward her specifically. It'll be interesting to see exactly what the family dynamics are. I am slightly concerned about her overall behavior. The fact that in the trailer she seems incapable of having any kind of preference. I mean, there is a certain level of individual abuse that I can understand and I can get behind and I can empathize with. And then there is a situation where a writer can actually take it too far. So we'll have to see how it goes. But it's definitely one that had my interest. It was one of the 2 of the 10 that I kind of had at the end of the list. I wasn't entirely sure, but I always like to cover something romance-based, so it seems like something I might be interested in trying, so we'll see how it goes. On Tuesday, I'm considering covering Private Tutor to the Duke's Daughter. I actually already watched the first episode of this one because it technically came out on the 28th, and I thought that it was super cute and rather humorous and fun. It's definitely an interesting choice coming from me because it does seem to have some harem vibes, but it doesn't seem like it's overly pushy with them, and it seems like it's playing them for comedic value, which is something that can actually work for me when it's done right. I've had it work and have it done right in something like Monster, where the interactions between the characters were amusing despite the fact that they happened within a dark fantasy setting. I've also had it go horrifically wrong when I tried, I think it was tying the knot with an Amagami sister or something. I don't remember the exact title of that one. I watched one episode of it and I was like, nope, you don't work for me, because it was just too bizarre. But this show has much more of a cute kind of sweet vibe underneath of it, and it also has these moments where it does this adorable chibi art style, and when the humor mixes with that just really works for me. It kind of reminds me of the chibi art from something like Archdemon's Dilemma. It's obviously not the exact same as that, but it puts me in mind of that, and that's something I really love. So we'll see how it goes as it goes forward. I liked the first episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing it for the time being. On Wednesday, we have our first day where I'm hoping to cover 2 shows, and it's because there were actually 3 Wednesday shows I'm really interested in, and I'm just gonna scoot one onto Thursday because there was nothing there that grabbed me. First up, we have Clevatess, which looks really cool because it's this dark dragon who thinks he wants to destroy humanity, and now somehow he's ended up reviving this person he killed himself, and also he's taking care of this human baby who might somehow be like the final aspect of humanity that can save the world from total annihilation. I wonder what kind of interconnection we're going to see between these characters. I kept going back and forth on this one. This was actually the other show where I kind of hemmed and hawed over whether I would cover it, but I've heard really good things about the overall story. I've heard that it's really solid. I wasn't fully sold on the art style, but I mean, if the story ends up being good, the art style will probably end up growing on me. I didn't like outright hate it or something, it just didn't jump off the page. Although I do like his design, his more humanoid form. Amusingly, it looks kind of like my own VTuber here, which is really funny. So we'll see how that one goes. The other show I'm hoping to cover on Wednesdays is new Saga, which looks really interesting. I like the idea that some people have been describing it almost as if you should imagine it like it's a new game plus in a video game. The main character, I believe his name is Kyle, actually ends up defeating this demon lord, but he dies in the process, and everyone he loves has died along the way. But then at the last minute, something happens where some crystal or something takes him back 3 or 4 years into the past before everything happens, but allows him to retain the knowledge that he's had from the experiences he's had throughout his life. And now he potentially has a chance to redo things and change the future. I love that kind of time travel and future altering premise, and I really like the way that this one looks. I think it looks really cool. So we'll have to see whether it can actually live up to the sum of its parts. But I'm definitely interested in checking it out, and it definitely looks like if it's done right, it could be something that I'm going to really enjoy. On Thursdays, we have Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth Verse, and I'm saying that really slow because holy crap, I've taken 15 tries to get that right. That title does not like me. But I really love the idea of this show because the idea is that there is this girl that our main guy has been seeing in his dreams for a long time, and then suddenly he winds up in a situation where I don't know whether he jumps to a different universe or whether he jumps through time or something, but he ends up meeting her, and then they're both killed. But something brings him back, and now he is on a quest to be able to get strong enough so that he can actually go into the timeline where she is, or the place where she is, and he can actually save her. I didn't want to put this and new Saga onto the same day because their premises are somewhat similar, but I was interested in both, and they seemed distinct enough from each other that I was potentially interested in covering them because they look like they're both going to be a lot of fun, and they seem like they have different art styles and slightly different tones or different takes on this kind of situation. So I decided to pop this onto Thursdays instead, and we will see how it goes. Everything and its brother seems to be coming out on Fridays. As far as the 2 shows that I actually want to cover on Fridays themselves, first up we have Secrets of the Silent Witch, which looks absolutely adorable. It's something that at first I was kind of like, oh, that sounds cool. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I kept going back to it, and the more I kept looking at its trailer and thinking about its premise, the more and more it grew on me, and the more excited I got about actually checking it out. I love the idea, first off, that we have a witch who is going to be guarding or protecting or looking over a prince. I like that inversion. I often give things heck for being afraid to have men protect women in modern fiction, but that doesn't mean that I'm opposed to the opposite. What I'm actually very concerned about is something becoming so invertedly normalized that it's no longer valued, and that would be a shame. The next thing it has that's really cool in my opinion is that this character, while she as a witch is super duper uber overpowered borderline Mary Sue from what we're gathering here, she does actually have her own kryptonite, and that is that she has social anxiety. She is so afraid of talking to people that she actually went to the trouble of learning silent spellcasting, not as some great and noble feat, but rather so she wouldn't have to talk. That's got to be really hard. Actually, I can really get behind and understand that because, as some of you might know, my boyfriend Aragrim is kind of somebody who has those sort of issues and has a hard time dealing with large groups of people. So this is something that, while it's not my own personal issue, it's something that I deal with because I help him very often. So it's definitely something that connects to my life and that I care about. So I am looking forward to that aspect of it. Again, we have magic, we have social anxiety or other discomforts. Yes, we're leaning back into stuff that I've covered in the past, but it looks different and fresh enough that I want to give it a go. The second show that I'm hoping to cover on Fridays, and this of course relies on guaranteeing that it ends up where it's supposed to, because I don't have a full confirmation on where this is actually going to be yet, is Togen Anki. Of course I want to cover this because I am absolutely in love with anything to do with Oni. I love the idea that this character is very brash and very bold and very in your face and very rebellious. And given what's happened to him, from what I can understand from the trailer, he has every right to feel that way, because the idea that these people have just shown up and killed his family and attacked him without him having any context as to why, yeah, I'd be ticked off too. So I don't blame him there in the slightest. But this looks like it should be a really interesting and fun watch. And like, these characters could be people I could really end up connecting and relating to, because I like the idea of a story having something that connects to the real. You screw with my family, I'm gonna be mad. But then I also love when it has fantasy elements, like in this case it's Oni and it's dealing with this loss and its revenge and everything, which isn't usually how you'd think about something in real life. So I like how that lines up, and this was one of the two that like fought for like my top spot. On Saturdays we are going to have Lord of the Mysteries. I know I put my videos out on Sunday, but I had family stuff come up. But Saturdays will ideally be the day that the episodes for that will be discussed on my channel going forward. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I think the art style of this show is absolutely insane in its beauty and its quality and its fluidity. I think the overall premise is really interesting. I love steampunk, I love anything Lovecraftian, I love tarot, and I love Victorian era as a time to have something set in. So this seems like it's something that could have been absolutely made for me. I'm really enjoying like discussing the power system and learning slowly how everything works. I'm just really having a lot of fun with this, and I think it's going to be something I'm going to enjoy covering this season. Last up we have Sunday, and Sundays are going to have 2 shows. The first show that we're going to have on Sundays is The Summer Hikaru Died, which is on Netflix and is actually, I believe, a Saturday release. But I usually don't want to put 2 things on Saturdays, although I might bounce this one back and forth between Saturdays and Sundays because Aragrim just started a new position at work and his days off are not necessarily as fixed as they were the last time that I was here with you guys. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really into this one because the idea that this friend went away, went missing, came back, and now the main character is wondering what the hell happened to him, and it looks like he's gonna find out, and he's gonna have to deal with the consequences of knowing this truth and deciding how he's going to cope with it. This is my kind of horror. This is the kind of thing that really works for me. I'm not somebody who's necessarily shocked by a whole bunch of heavy violence and stuff. I'm much more interested in things that can really warp with and screw people's minds. I really like psychological horror. I also really love cosmic horror, as I pointed out a few minutes ago, but that's a different thing entirely. This just looked really cool, and this is one I've been following for a while, so hopefully everything works out good with it, and it's really interesting. The last show that we're going to be talking about here, and the last show for the week, is going to be Gachiakuta, and I hope I pronounced that right. I've heard like 6 different pronunciations. This just looks really cool, and it ended up actually beating out Togen Anki very closely to take the #1 spot of what I'm really interested in. I love the art style. I love the overall premise. The idea of not only things, but people being discarded as junk and thrown from this high platform and dropping down into this abyss kind of thing. This sounds really interesting. I love the idea that these people then are utilizing the junk to be able to actually deal with the situation they've been put into, and also to handle the situation that they're facing, wherein junk is actually forming its own stuff and is attacking. I love the idea that everything here seems to have like some kind of spirit or livingness to it. Not necessarily in a sentient sense, but I mean everything seems to have value, and I think that's a really interesting theme to tackle. And it just looks like it should be a really interesting and fun show. You know me, if you've watched my failure frame videos, I love a good vengeance story. I'm terrible for that. So of course this was going to be high up. I mean, it just looks absolutely fantastic, and it's going to round out our week. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Those are the shows that I am thinking about covering for the summer season. Please let me know if there is anything there that you guys are more or less interested in hearing about, or if there's anything that you think that I've missed. I also want to clarify that the reason I don't have any of the returners on my list for this season is because either I don't have enough videos on them if I covered them previously to feel that I would be comfortable doing a season 2, or they are things I did not personally fully watch and complete, and I do not have time for that right now because we are just about to hop in, and I only sorted out that I was going to come back and do this about a week ago, so I did not have time to prepare. Anyway, that's going to be all from me. Please let me know if you have any thoughts or comments, because I'm always open for discussion. And I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye!